Greetings and welcome to the Saco City Council meeting for Monday, November 9th, 2020. I call the meeting to order at 6:32 p.m. Let the record show that all councilors are present, including City Administrator Kainrath. At this time, I would like to invite everyone to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And the flag is behind City Administrator Kainrath. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and the Republic, and to the Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Excuse me. On to item 4, general. Just three things here. Up first is election completion and recognition of staff involved. Saco had a smooth election day, and the feedback we received about voting in Saco was very positive. During the election, 10,021 absentee ballots were requested, and 9,758 were returned and accepted. In total, we had 12,767 voters participate in the election. I'd like to say thank you to those who helped make the election a success. Thank you to the team at the city clerk's office and all of the election workers and volunteers. Thank you to the city's facilities division for their work in setting up and cleaning up. Thank you to Thornton Academy staff, leadership, and students for their partnership in providing the facility. Thank you to the Saco Police Department for providing security and traffic control. Thank you to the candidates and community for participating in the election. And lastly, we appreciate the work of the Communications Department in ensuring community members were aware of the process for absentee voting, as well as informed about the new polling place using the local newspapers, email newsletters, social media, and signage. Thank you, everyone, for all your work. Next is item B under general, and that is a recognition of Sergeant Cote's Modern Woodmen Fraternal Financials Hometown Hero Award. On Wednesday, October 21st, Modern Woodmen Fraternal Financial recognized Sergeant Cote for being a hometown hero with a plaque and a $100 donation to a charity of his choice. Sergeant Cote, a Marine Corps veteran, selected the Wounded Warrior Project as the donation recipient. Sergeant Cote has served the community as a member of the police department for more than 30 years. During his tenure, he has served as a patrol officer, school resource officer, field training officer, corporal, and sergeant. Lieutenant Gagnon nominated Officer Sergeant Cote for this award and shared his nomination submission with us. When I recommended Bruce to you a few months ago, he was working with a local veteran who was going through a difficult time, said Lieutenant Gagnon in the nomination submission. Bruce made himself available to this person regardless of whether he was on duty or not. He would frequently pick them up and go for a ride or treat them to coffee. Bruce made sure this person knows they are supported and cared for by merely lending his ear and offering advice. Bruce has a unique knack for using his connections and professional abilities seamlessly to achieve positive results for people. He puts the same compassion efforts into his dealings with lifelong friends, colleagues, and even strangers. Sergeant Cote is a great mentor and resource for his colleagues, demonstrating his compassion, strong communication skills, and extensive community knowledge in his police work daily. While receiving the award, Sergeant Cote said, "I try to do the right thing every day. I still love the job, the people I work with, and the people I serve." Today, we say congratulations to you, Sergeant Cote, for your work. Thank you very much for everything you do. Third is just a reminder that Biddeford and Saco once again are collaborating to host a unique live stream ceremony on Veterans Day, November 11th, beginning at 11 a.m. This event is to acknowledge the sacrifices of the men and women who have served or are currently serving in the armed forces of the United States. This year's speaker is Kim LaPointe, a Navy veteran who lives and works in Biddeford. Kim came from a long line of veterans, two of whom survived Japanese POW camps. She will discuss her family's commitment to service. We hope you will tune into the City of Saco government Facebook page to stream this ceremony and join us in thanking the veterans in our communities for their service and sacrifice. The Saco Parks and Recreation are also doing a meal service for Saco residents 50 plus, put on at the Community Center parking lot on Wednesday, November 11th, 2020, between 11 and 12:30. Restaurant is the Golden Rooster that's providing the meals. And for anyone that is interested in that, excuse me, signups are available 11/4/2020 through 11/11/2020, or until meals sell out. Please contact Amelia Meyer at Saco Parks and Rec, or call 207-283-3139, 283-3139, extension 807, to request a meal. Again, thank you to all the veterans for their service and sacrifice. At this point, we are at agenda item 5, committee correspondence to council. Any committee correspondence to council? Councilor Copeland?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Saco Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee is having a bike ride, a Cranksgiving ride on 11/14. It's this coming Saturday. And they're going to, well, let's see. They're going to have a ride. Everybody's going to meet at 10 a.m. over at the community center. And then we're going to go to Hannaford's, ride our bikes to Hannaford's, get things that we can purchase for the food pantry, then drive down to the food pantry and drop off the food there. And then we're going to continue on riding around. So it's COVID, so we want everyone to be safe. Very important, must wear a mask. And if you are intending on coming, I ask that you email the Saco Bike and Ped group at Saco Bike Ped, that's SACOBIKEPED at sacomaine.org. So they have an idea of how many are coming, and we can go from there. I'm going. I hope you are too. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Copeland. Any other committee correspondence to council? At this time, we move on to item 6 of the agenda, public comment. City Administrator Canrath, have we received any public comment for tonight's meeting?
Nothing at this time.
Thank you very much. This time, open it up to the public. For anyone who wishes to address the council, please use the raise hand feature of the Zoom platform, or *9 if you're using a cellular phone, and you'll be unmuted to speak to the council. Again, anyone wishing to address the council, please use the raise hand feature of Zoom, or *9 for those using a cellular phone, and you'll be unmuted to speak to council. Okay, seeing no hands raised, moving on to item 7, there are no minutes to approve. Item 8, there is no consent agenda. We are at item 9, action items. Item A is one reading tabled on October 19th, 2020, write-offs for 2019. Councilor Archer?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is standard practice for the finance director to request council approval on writing off amounts owed to the city, especially with regards to taxes. The items recommended for write-offs have been deemed uncollectible and therefore we are recommending that council approve removal of these items from our books. Be it ordered that the city council authorize the finance director to write off the delinquent amounts in the identified persons and entities and remove them from the books. I move to approve the order.
Motion's been made by Councilor Archer. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor McPhail. Any discussion? Councilor Johnston?
Thank you. Last we spoke about this, there was some discussion about the Southern Maine Health Center's walk-in clinic. I believe at some point the finance director gave us an update, and I actually don't recall what was stated then, but so I guess if there's an update, I'd like to have that, but as is, I'm opposed to writing that bill off. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Thank you, Councilor Johnston. Can we promote Finance Director Salas, please?
Hi, yes, good evening. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
So SMHC was removed at the request of SMHC and also per, I believe, Councilor Archer's amendment. This particular packet just doesn't include the strikeout. So I don't know that we need to amend it again. I think, am I correct there, Mayor Doyle?
What's been presented to us is what the council is voting on. So if it didn't make the packet, then we would have to amend. I want to make sure that so it's clear, everyone, on what we're doing. So I would ask for an amendment to just strike that language because it's not stricken in the document that has been provided to the city council to vote on tonight.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Johnston.
make a motion to amend that we remove SMHC walk-in clinic from the write-offs.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilor Johnston, seconded by Councilor Archer. Any discussion on the amendment? Amendment to remove SMHC walk-in clinic false alarm fines from 2015 to 2018. No discussion on the amendment. Roll call vote. Councilor Archer?
Aye.
Councilor Purdy?
Yes.
Councilor Gunn?
Yes.
Councilor Copeland?
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councilor McPhail?
Yes.
Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion to amend to remove SMHC walk-in clinic false alarm fines. Passes 7-0. To the main motion. Any discussion on the main motion? Seeing no further discussion, roll call vote on the main motion. Council Archer?
Aye.
Councilor Purdy?
Yes.
Councilor Gunn?
Yes.
Councilor Copeland?
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councilor McPhail?
Yes.
Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0 as amended. Item B, one reading, tabled on October 19th, 2020, disposition of foreclosed property. Councilor Archer?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The city foreclosed on several properties on January 23rd, 2020. Many attempts have been made to get the property owners to either pay off the matured tax liens or enter into option agreement and remain current with them. All attempts were unsuccessful. Be it ordered that City Council authorize the Finance Director to write off the delinquent tax amount for the identified properties and remove them from the tax rolls, and further move to authorize the City Administrator to dispose of the tax-acquired properties if applicable. I move to approve the order.
Motion's been made by Councilor Archer. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Minthorn. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, a roll call vote. Council Archer,
Aye.
Council Purdy,
Yes.
Councilor Gunn,
Yes.
Councilor Gunn.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilor Copeland,
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn,
Yes.
Councilor McPhail,
Yes.
Councilor Johnston.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item C, there's a one reading city street acceptance request for Country Club Drive. Councilor Copeland.
The background is that Mike Mizonian of Mizonian Development has requested a review of the city street acceptance of Country Club Drive within the Copperleaf subdivision approved by the planning board in 2013. This portion of the subdivision includes 13 residential lots. A separate section included Caroline Way with 6 lots accepted by the city in late 2019. Mr. Mizonian has completed all items of concern to the Department of Public Works, submitted as-built plans, and a warranty deed of conveyance to the city. The city attorney and all other pertinent departments are supportive of acceptance. The planning board made a positive recommendation to accept this street at its meeting of October 20th, 2020. The recommendation of the planning board, they have forwarded a positive recommendation to the city council. And I move to accept Country Club Drive as a city street.
Motion's been made by Councilor Copeland. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Minthorn. Any discussion? Public Works Director Fox is available, and so isn't City Planner Hamlin if we need it. Councilor Johnston.
Thank you. It's not so much discussion. I think several of you heard me say this several times before. I mean, it pains me to accept dead-end streets. I really believe that all streets should be designed and built as through streets for cul-de-sacs with a standard length. So I'm just throwing that out there again, and it's something I think we should really address in the future. There was some discussion during the zoning ordinance revision about that, but with all the other things we were dealing with, we really never got to the level of addressing dead ends. So I'm just, again, stating, where I stand with these. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay. Roll call vote. Councilor Archer,
Aye.
Councilor Purdy,
Yes.
Councilor Gunn,
Yes.
Councilor Copeland,
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn,
Yes.
Councilor McPhail,
Yes.
and Councilor Johnston.
No.
Motion passes 6-1. On to item 10, new business. We have 2 items. There's item A, a long-range planning committee discussion, and item B, Ward 4 council vacancy. Item A, long-range planning committee discussion. Can we promote Bob Hamlin for a presentation? Council Archer, thank you for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your vacation.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening, City Planner Hamlin. Thank you for joining us. As I understand, you're going to fill in for Director Clabette, who couldn't be here to explain the the memorandum that was sent to the council.
Correct. Thank you for having me. One moment while I, okay. Mr. Mayor, as you know, you are seeking to create a new committee for the city of Saco that will be called the Long Range Planning Committee. I, for one, am very pleased to see this recommendation come forward. As observers of the planning board scene may be aware, too often what we call a planning board is more of a reactive body, if you will. We react to applications and projects that are submitted to the city for review. But in terms of long-range planning, looking to the future, oftentimes it gets short shrift. Hopefully the creation of the LRPC would, would address that. Its charge would be to oversee the city's long-term vision for the city by studying and making recommendations on managing the city's future growth and development, assessing zoning and land use initiatives, growth management initiatives, environmental efforts, and updates to the comprehensive plan. Initially, the LRPC will be tasked with reviewing the 2011 and the 2018 comprehensive plan and update, respectively, with city staff and outside consultants, and to work on developing the 2021 comprehensive plan. Together, the group will provide advice and guidance throughout this public engagement process. We anticipate this will take about 18 months to complete. The committee's works will focus on zoning and land use. We will take into consideration effective growth management, responsible economic development, carefully considered infrastructure improvements, and overall improving Saco's stature as a desirable community in which to live, work, and raise a family. Well, I think perhaps you get the idea, folks. In your packets, we have outlined the composition of the Long Range Planning Committee. Membership would consist at this point of the mayor, 2 city councilors, 2 planning board members, 2 economic development commission members, the Saco Main Street executive director or designee, the age-friendly Saco coordinator or designee, up to 5 Saco residents, and then city staff would include the city planner, the director of director of planning and economic development, the economic development specialist, the deputy assessor, city engineer, and the director of code enforcement. Moving on to a related topic, there is still a comprehensive plan update committee for the 2018 update. The proposal there is to essentially terminate that group. It has served its purpose by pulling together the 2018 comprehensive plan update. It was charged with reviewing the comp plan and zoning ordinances to assimilate the Bridge 2025 document and to make recommendations for changes to the document for the next calendar year. The city utilized SMPDC, or the Southern Maine Planning and Development Commission, for that task. And as noted, the committee has served its role and is no longer needed. Also within your packets, Mayor and Council, there is a recommendation, in addition to creating the LRPC, that the following changes to the City Code, Chapter 4, is recommended as follows. Mr. Mayor, I'd be glad to read that, or I think each of you have it in front of you too. Shall I read it or shall I quiet myself?
I think everyone can understand. Again, this is just a initial discussion as part of new business on this. So if there's any changes that you'd like to recommend, obviously, please submit those to City Administrator Canrath and myself. And then once we get some of that items, this will be brought forward to you so that we can start the process to change the ordinance and develop this long-range planning committee. Any questions? Discussion? Councilor Johnston.
Thank you. It's not so much a question, just a statement. The creation of a long-range planning committee is an idea that I first brought to the prior city administrator about 2 years ago for a variety of reasons that didn't come to fruition. I suggested the long-range planning committee when I met with Mayor Doyle last January, and it was also discussed with the prior city planner around that same time. I've felt that the committee such as this has been needed for quite some time. Over the years, I've read about 50 years worth of different city plans and studies, and I've always kind of been left wondering why so many of the concepts or ideas were never really implemented. After several years on council, it occurred to me that no one group or no one person or group was specifically tasked with this. So I am encouraged by the creation of this committee. I think it's going to go a long way towards ensuring that, as former Councillor Smith used to say, plans were always shelved, and will assist the community in its future planning. So I believe over the last 7 years on council, I've shown my commitment and dedication to future planning, but most specifically through my work over the last 4 or so years with the 2018 comp plan update and the zoning ordinance revision, and most recently as planning board liaison. So I would respectfully ask that the mayor and council grant me the opportunity to continue this work as a member of the LRPC. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Johnston. Any further discussion, questions? You'll see this again at some point in the future. The goal is to get it done prior to the beginning of the year so that they can start working with the consultants for the beginning of the 2021. Okay. Thank you very much. And City Administrator Canrath, we are at item B, Ward 4 Council vacancy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As most of you should know by now, Councillor Copeland was successful in being elected to the Maine House of Representatives last week. So congratulations first to Councillor Copeland on her victory. With that comes her council seat, and we did receive notice from Councillor Copeland of her intent to submit her resignation effective December 7th of this year. So with that, we'll kick off a process of filling that council seat. Attached in your pack, you'll see there's a legal opinion from Tim Murphy on some of the mechanics of filling that, but we want to take this time and this agenda item to discuss a process going forward to allow public participation, to allow enough time for letters of interest for the seat to come forward to us, and then the council to appoint a replacement for that vacancy in December. So I'll open it for Mayor Doyle or Councillor Copeland to add anything there, but I think that was the process or something along those lines we had in mind in order to achieve this transition.
Thank you, City Administrator Canrath, and I also want to just congratulate Councillor Copeland on her success, and then also just put the idea in what this would do is it would allow us to give the maximum amount of time for folks that are interested for reach out purposes and for them to get any kind of letter of interest in. And if there is anyone interested, I have had a couple of emails come in I would just encourage you all to send any letters of interest to the city clerk. Again, send any letters of interest for Ward 4 to the city clerk, and she will be putting all of those together and presenting a package to the council at a later date. The idea is to be proactive on this rather than reactive, so that any member of the community that's seated in December will have the ability to go through all the trainings and so forth and be set up for success as they go into a quick turnaround for budget season. So that is the idea, to be proactive on this, and that way there, that as Councilor Copeland has indicated, she will resign on the 7th. The council may be able to pick and appoint somebody to fill the seat on the 7th, so that there is no gap in, no gap in representation of that seat, as we saw with some folks that resigned on different boards. So that is kind of the overall thought process here. We're just being proactive. The council does have 30 days from the actual date of resignation to do anything. So if the council doesn't want to make a decision, they don't have to on December 7th. We're just trying to be a little proactive and make sure that no incoming councilor is shortchanged. So with that, Councilor Copeland, do you have anything to say? And then we'll open it up for discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Doyle, Mayor Doyle, and thank you everybody for your congratulations. It's been my honor to be a city councilor in Saco. I have learned so much and met so many amazing people, and I hope the best woman for the job gets it. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Copeland. Again, anyone that's interested, please send your letter of interest, email with your address, phone number, and contact information to City Clerk Michelle Hughes. Any further discussion on this? Councilor Johnston.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, the administrator can go ahead.
City Administrator Canrath.
That's fine. Well, just real quick, I just wanted to note that just for those members who may be interested, this will be considered an open public session of the council. It will not be held in executive session or any sort of behind closed doors meeting. So if you do submit a letter of interest, just know that it will be discussed in open public session at one of our council meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, City Administrator Canrath. Councilor Johnston.
Thank you. I assume that Attorney Murphy isn't available for comment. But again, I understand his legal jargon, but I think the spirit of the charter has always been that anything over a year, a term, council seat, anything, or perhaps even the school board, over a year should be filled by election. I have serious reservations about this council dictating to the residents of Ward 4 who their representative will be. So I just wanted to publicly state that for the record, because again, I understand Mr. Murphy's opinion, but it's also my understanding that it was Mr. Murphy that reviewed this prior charter amendment, and I would have thought that he would have caught the snafu that seems to exist here. And again, I can understand how it's written and the issue with it, but I don't think it's right. And so that's, again, publicly stated. This is not something that I really endorse. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Johnson. I do just want the public to know that any appointee that's filling the vacancy would not be filling the entire 2-year or almost 2-year commitment. They would be filling the month, the time up until November of 2021, and they would have to run for office for the remaining year. That's what the language says here. So that is just so everyone is clear. The appointment would only be from December to November of 2021.
Right.
Councilor
Mayor.
Johnson, you have your hand up.
Yep. Thank you for clarifying that, because it wasn't clear in the documentation, at least to me, that was provided by I assume it's Mr. Murphy's legal opinion that was in the packet. I guess my question would be then, how does that alter the staggering of terms if this is only filling, 12 months or thereabouts, and then an individual would have to run for re-election for a single year, or are they running for a full 3-year term again? Because the way it's presented in the charter, this seat, the remainder of this seat is a 2-year commitment, I believe, if that's correct, Councilor Copeland. So it should have been up for 2022. So I'm just looking for clarity of how this will all proceed.
You are correct, Councilor Johnston. They would run for a 1-year term to fill the remainder of Councilor Copeland's term till 2022. Councilor Minthorn, your hand is up.
Yes, I was just going to say that very thing, that the way it was set up, and unfortunately, when we did the staggered terms for council, it was felt that adding in and clarifying this particular section was not necessary, because there had been a fairly long duration where there hadn't been, I guess, a counselor that had stepped aside. And for that reason, this had been rarely used. So there wasn't a need, and they didn't want to overburden the voters with having a half dozen plus one or plus two further charter amendments. We have submitted the clarifying language for this that would actually be voted on in the same November 2021 election that will fix what's wrong with 206 now, due to the fact we staggered the terms. But as I understand it, as what Mr. Murphy has put forward, whoever we select from, hopefully the Ward 4 has numerous individuals that will indicate their interest. We'll select this person to fulfill that seat until the next regular municipal election, which would be November of 2021, at which point they can run to fill the unexpired term for Ward 4 until November of 2022, at which point then they'll be up for re-election again or election again to fill the 3-year term that would start in 2022 at the same time mine is. So that would be that.
Thank you, Councilor Minthorn. Councilor Johnston?
Well, thank you for clarifying, but it really still doesn't change my opinion on this. We're talking about appointing somebody for a year, and then that individual or another individual having to run an election for 1 year only to run again. I mean, I think the easier course of action here is to just hold a special election and have the person serve out the remaining 2 years of Councilor Copeland's term. And that way we stay right on line as we have. And again, I don't understand why it was missed. I was under the impression at the time that the language that we had, given that it had always been the spirit of it, was that if you had more than 12 months left on your term, there was a special election. In fact, I recall former Councilor Brunswick stepping down and on my first term on council, and we filled that seat because it was only maybe 8 to 6 months left with former Councilor Ruin, who ultimately you ran against, Mr. Mayor, and defeated. So I think that I could probably go further back and list off several other cases of how this has worked in the past, because it has been used quite frequently. So I'm a little bit disappointed that the language was missed here, because I understand what's in it and I understand where the thinking is going, but I don't think it makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Johnston. So, councilors, you will be seeing this again in December. And then for those that are interested in filling the Ward 4 vacancy, please submit your letter of interest to Michelle Hughes, the city clerk, and she will be bringing forward those letters of interest to City Council. With that, there is no No more new business. We are at item 11. City Administrator Canrath.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just another update on the election. I think the mayor covered a lot of it at the beginning of the meeting, but there were some other numbers I want to throw out there. Registration numbers we had. So between September 1st and election day, we had 1,345 new voters, 534 changes or updates, 99 were canceled. And on election day, we had 639 new registrations, which is great. So total registered voters as of November 2nd, 2020 in the city stands at 17,056. And voters who participated in the election, 12,767. So our voter turnout was approximately 74%, which is pretty good. Senior Meals Program, again, a reminder, this Wednesday, Veterans Day, November 11th, will be our next senior meal program. And then following on the 19th, we will have the meal featuring Thanksgiving. Of course, anyone interested in volunteering, please talk to Amelia Meyer, Parks and Rec, to sign up. Just to note some policy updates that will be forthcoming. Myself and staff have been at work on a code of ethics and conduct that will be coming forward, military leave policy, education reimbursement policy, a revised sewer ordinance that Howard Carter and his staff are working on will be coming forward. And we're also working on a comprehensive review and edit of the dog ordinance that we previously discussed. That'll be coming back to council in the near future. Riverwalk Trail. If you haven't seen yet, the Fisherman's Path segment of the Saco Riverwalk Trail, which has been around for a long time, but in sort of a just sort of a dirt path fashion, has been significantly upgraded. Great Northern Docks, as well as Allied Dock Services, have recently installed a boardwalk. There was a ribbon cutting that we held on October 23rd to open that. This was thanks to a grant that we received from the State of Maine Department of Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry that Saco Parks and Rec worked hard to obtain. So the new trail, it looks great. Obviously, it overlooks the river and the dam, and is a great spot, and just a few minute walk from downtown. So if you haven't seen that yet, please take a visit. I'd also like to thank Communications Coordinator Andrew Dickinson for doing a really fantastic video of the project that is posted on our YouTube page. If you can't make it down there in person, please check that out. City Hall Auditorium, if we ever get back there, we are going to have some nice audio upgrades there. The communications facilities and IT departments have worked with Access AV to move the cablecast equipment down from the third floor to a new booth, which is located behind the stage. And facilities has been working on that, and we'll be completing some finishing work in the next few months. The microphone wiring has also been replaced. A new camera has been added. New wireless presentation system has been installed. And our communications director, Emily Roy, is currently drafting an RFP for further sound system upgrades to replace the speakers in the auditorium. And we'll keep you up to date on that as that moves forward. So we will have quite a bit enhanced sound system when we do return to our chambers someday. So that's all I have. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, City Administrator Canrath. Any questions for the City Administrator? No questions. Moving on to item 12, council discussion and comment. Councilor Copeland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know you did a really good job of thanking our staff for the great election. It was really quite smooth. I had some anxiety about it, I'll admit that, but everyone was just fantastic. It was so smooth. Everyone felt safe. Most people were wearing masks. And I particularly wanted to call out the building, Don Roth and his crew. I mean, they moved these heavy machines all over the place, up and down stairs manually. I mean, they really put in a huge effort that goes unseen. So I just wanted to call out their valiant effort. The clerk's office, that was amazing. Everything was smooth. People were going in, people were going out. It was just fantastic. And you know, the police presence was fine. Everybody was happy and safe. And you know, hopefully we don't have COVID next election, because that was really awful. But on a final note, I wanted to say thank you to the voters for electing me to be your representative in the State House. I'm honored, and I'm available for any input anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Copeland. Councilor Minthorn.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I want to congratulate Lynn on her victory and wish her all the best at the State House. And we look forward to her advocating for Saco every chance she can. And other than that, the new shuttle bus is on the road back and forth between Saco Biddeford and the city of Portland on the turnpike. So it's the first brand new bus that we've had in the fleet in over a decade. And there's several more to come. All of these were purchased with some of the Volkswagen settlement money. So there's no hit to any of the three communities' tax bases for these buses. And we look forward to bringing forward a financial program for the new budget years to come. We just were at the end of a triple year budget request from Shuttle Bus, and we'll be bringing a new one forward in the coming budget season. So with that, I'd also like to congratulate the community because evidently the state has released some money for potential school construction. And it's a very long and drawn out process, and the state is in the driver's seat the entire path. But I know there's a number of us that have worked toward this end, and I'm happy to see that it's finally coming to fruition after several years back when we insisted the schools participate by putting the community on the bid list. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Minthorn. Any further council discussion and comment? Okay, there's no executive session tonight. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Councilor Copeland, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Minthorn. Any discussion on adjournment? Roll call vote. Councilor Purdy,
Yes.
Councilor Gunn,
Yes.
Councilor Copeland,
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn,
Yes.
Councilor McPhail,
Yes.
and Councilor Johnston.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for a good evening. Be well, stay safe, and please, for everybody's sake, wear a mask when you're out in public, and let's try to beat back this COVID-19 pandemic so that we can all get back together as soon as possible. Thank you for all your efforts. Excuse me. Stay safe.
You as well.